And salutations. It's a Friday morning here on the morning show on the SDH Network. John here, Niko there, sporting the gear. He knows what's going on. Since I couldn't quite get him to pilot the plane or have him hold the plane in Charlotte, we're catching up with him about the Copa and everything that went down there. You're back home, my friend. So how was the trip?
Man, it was unreal. First of all, Charlotte's a beautiful city. I was close to you guys, HDH family, close, but yet so far. But I felt some of that southern warmth, that charm. Everybody was fantastic. Food was unreal. The atmosphere at the stadium was incredible. Just the whole thing was not cheap, but it was worth every single penny. I mean, we'll get into more of the particulars here in a little bit, but city-wise, flight-wise, I love Charlotte, man. I mean, I was asking people what they were paying in terms of houses over there, because I mean, it was that nice, man. It was really a beautiful experience. Especially, I did it with my oldest son. It was kind of me and him. So, man, it was fantastic.
Do I even want to know how on fire your credit card is after this particular trip? Do I need to know?
I mean, it's up there. Not a lot on the credit card because I'm very careful with my credit card. So I just pulled out some savings. I am still doing a Vegas trip here in October, but I took all my juice box money and, put it towards, I guess, a better investment, a memory and experience. Definitely my credit card, not too much, but my pocket is burning. I mean, it was expensive. I got to tell you, I paid more for the tickets to get in than I did for me and my son's airfare. So it was expensive for sure.
No doubt about it. Get-in price for the final on the weekend. Get-in price in Miami listed on Thursday at $2,200. Get-in price, one ticket, $2,200. And the price for tickets in general, the further down you go, I was seeing $5,000 for tickets close to the action at Hard Rock. And then suites were going for six figures. Welcome to Copa America, United States, eh?
Yeah, man, it was expensive. And I knew it was now or never. I mean, I kind of killed two birds with one stone as well. I had some going on with my brother down there in Charlotte, so I was able to do that. And I, like I said, I don't want to scare nobody. I don't want to do anything, but it was $500 plus per ticket to get in. So I knew it was now or never. I mean, for the final, because I looked at the tickets, because I believed in Colombia. I did. And I was like, maybe I'll just buy a final ticket, but they were at $1,300 when I checked. So for me and my son, that gets expensive. Plus fare to get to Miami, plus lodging. So it gets tough.
This was the United States for this particular generation. It was their awakening to Copa America. And I think that if they hadn't been watching the tournament, or if they've just been looking at updates and you and me when we're talking, and Nino Torres when we're talking on a daily basis, it's like, okay, so I see what's going on. The U.S. get bumped out. I'll just kind of be a casual watcher. But I think that the match that you were at in Charlotte personified everything that the tournament is about. It was ramped up from the absolute beginning on the field. It was 90 minutes of slamming it into fifth gear with two teams that knew that they were trying to get to the finish line. I mean, it was nuts. And I told folks, I said, look, if you didn't watch this match, find a replay. Watch this match. It is the personification of what this tournament's all about.
Yeah, first let me start outside of the pitch, because the atmosphere was insane. I mean, it was 70,000 plus and might have been 60,000 Colombians, and it was tailgating. It was beautiful. Walking with your countryman. Uruguay fans were out there too. Maybe not as many, but just as loud. It was so just different. The vibe was just out there. Honestly, it was electric. The national anthem comes through. I got tears coming down my eyes. I mean, it was just emotional, and you saw it everywhere. I looked up, and I mean, it looked like a sea of red and blue and yellow. I mean, it was just amazing. I just was impressed with the amount of people that showed up, the atmosphere. It was just incredible. And when it came to the game, you're right. I mean, I thought it was a fantastic game. First 45 minutes, I think, is back and forth. Nunes gets quite a few opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Colombia's playing very open. They're trying to get their fullbacks forward the way they always do. Mojica on one side, who Mojica had a fantastic game. Munoz, who unfortunately got that red card there in 45 minutes. But the first half was just back and forth, very good. I thought that Bielsa planned it perfectly to eliminate the two key components, the epicenter of all Colombian attacks in James Rodriguez and Luis Diaz. I mean, he was fantastic. You know, it was reference defense. It was chasing him down, not letting him get on the ball at all. Betancourt, who we'll talk about that because I think his injury was pretty big in terms of not being able to hold Colombia as much as well. But, you know, I just thought they played well. Bielsa did realize that when he started this game with three in the back, that's not the way he wanted to play it because some of his best attackers were a little bit too wide and he wasn't getting enough down the middle. So he ended up switching to a 4-man in the back. But that's just Bielsa, man. I mean, for you to realize that quickly. So it was a beautiful game for the first 45 minutes. Then Munoz, look, don't let this hat fool you. I'm very objective when it comes to these sort of things. Mistake on Munoz's part. He's been so good, probably one of the best, more influential players in Colombia. As a matter of fact, the fact that he's not going to be in the final is almost unfair. It's almost a sin because he's put his heart and soul into this team. He's been so good, and now he misses the final because of a bad moment, a bad impulse. He was baited, but if you're baited and you're caught, then that's on you. He did get pinched. I don't know if you've seen that, but he gets really pinched and he reacts. You should not react. It's just part of those dark arts that are just something you got to be ready for when you play Uruguay. He reacts, red card happens, and from there on out, it becomes a Colombian team that initially were playing in a 4-3-2, trying not to be too defensive, trying not to play too much of a deep block. But as people get gassed and James got gassed and, Lucho got gassed, you ended up having to just bunker down. You take off Cordoba, you take off James. And now, Nestor Lorenzo deserves a lot of credit, and I'm taking way too long, man, but I just got to get out here. Nestor Lorenzo does a really good job at managing this thing. Even if you don't like defensive soccer and you think, man, that's just not the way you play it, he knew what he was against. That's a quality Uruguayan team. And he just closed it down. He overpopulated the midfield. He made sure his down block was nice and solid. And he saved James from himself. James got a yellow for getting way too argumentative with the ref. That could have easily escalated, and all of a sudden you get a red. You don't have your best player or your most influential player for the final. So I just thought Nestor Lorenzo did a fantastic job at gambling, because it was a gamble, because he didn't just park the bus. He parked 3 cars and an RV, and he worked. And maybe if he hadn't worked, we'd be criticizing him today. But that gamble, that determination, everybody bought in. Colombia gets 2 really good chances in front of goal, despite being 10 players on the field, 1 player down. Uribe gets 2 in front of goal that he misses. And then Lerma with a wide open goal because the goalkeeper was on our end trying to make something happen, and then he just whiffs it. I don't know how it happens. It happened, but credit to Colombia. Hard-fought game. It was courageous. It was relentless at times. It was resilient. I just got to applaud what they did against a very good Uruguayan team.
You were there, and you were with Jason on Atlanta Soccer Tonight after the match. Your pictures are out there for anybody to see with what happened after the match up in the stands. We talked about it Thursday morning on the morning show, and I think on a couple of different fronts. I think it was a wake-up call for the United States as a soccer organization. I think it was also something that might have been a wake-up call, hopefully, for CONMEBOL, because of how you didn't have, and this was a point that was made on the morning show yesterday by one of our Twitch pitchers. In the Euros, say, as an example, you have your specific seating that is locked in for fans. Fans are going to be here. Fans are going to be here. This is where you are, and y'all are on the other side. You had a mix, and it ended up being a very dangerous mix where you had family on one side behind the benches, and in the next section over, you had fans of the other team, and it got ugly. And I know that you got to talk to Jason about all of this, but now that you've had time to kind of let it settle in, what are your thoughts about what happened after the match that I think was a rude awakening for hopefully a lot of folks?
Yeah, let me switch hats because I don't want anybody to think I'm playing with this. I am very serious about this whole situation, and we got to break it all down. So, first of all, I think CONMEBOL is the biggest at fault here. They're the governing body and those that organize the logistics for this whole thing. I know that U.S. Soccer is involved, but CONMEBOL, as I'm told, they're the ones handling just about everything. Maybe 75% of what's going on, hotels, stadiums, everything's governed by CONMEBOL. They should know better. They should do better. This is not something out of the ordinary in South America, unfortunately. This happens in Copa Libertadores. This has happened in previous qualifier games. I believe it was Uruguay and Brazil at one point. So this has happened. There's a precedent for things. So first mistake is, like you said, not putting these family members elsewhere. I mean, it was the Panther Stadium, really, and Charlotte FC Stadium, brand new stadium. There's suites, there's places to put these people away from the crowds. So that's number one. But the reality of it, and this is where I want to be very careful, is the fact that the altercation and the problems and how it all kind of spilled out was done by the people. I mean, it was done by the individuals involved in everything, right? Yes, the people that should be at fault is those who organized it and didn't see this coming as they should have. But the people that made it happen are also at fault. So, I saw a lot of people online and tittering on, I don't condone violence, but I understand where Nunes is coming from. Either you condone it or you don't. Don't titter around the truth. Just say how it is. I don't condone either one of the behaviors. So, look, I talked to a lot of people, and I got actually some videos that I can't even show because the person said, yeah, I don't want that out there. But I saw videos where there was some taunting from, Uruguayan individuals in that section. The first punch I saw be thrown was by an Uruguayan fan. So when you're making these accusations about just blaming the Colombian fans and that Nunes is a victim, and you put a shot of him holding his kid crying, when the reality of it is that his family, Nunes' family, was on the pitch already safe when he decided to storm the stands, very runner test like, and that's a decision that he made. So everybody's at fault. Let's not victimize. Let's not put Nunes and the rest of the players as victims, because that's not the reality. Now, I'm not going to sit here and confirm and tell you I know for sure it was Uruguayans' fault or Colombians' fault. I don't know. They're CONMEBOL just put out a statement. There's an investigation. Let's see what happens. But from my standpoint, and talking to people that were there, and using my rationale, I believe that, and this is quote what somebody told me that was in that area. He said, look, entitled, frustrated player family members, and I don't know if you've kind of had a chance to deal with some of the superstar families. Sometimes there is a level of entitlement. I mean, I could believe that. I could see that. And being frustrated with how the game played out, because Uruguay was on top of Colombia. That game goes another 15 minutes. They probably tie it. So there's frustration. There's anger. So for you to tell me that you know for sure that one party was at fault and the other wasn't, that's where I have my issues with it. Let things settle. Let's figure out what really happened. But I know for a fact it wasn't just Colombian fans that started this whole thing. So individuals, both parties are at fault, but the players, they have to be raised to a whole different level. And look, if you want to paint Nunes as a victim and as a hero that went and dragged family members from those areas, that never happened. There is literally zero video of Nunes pulling anybody or helping anybody. What he did, he stormed, he started swinging on fans. He was squaring up like this was UFC battle against other fans. You see fans putting their hands out like, hey, man, relax. So, again, let's let this go through, but let's not start to take sides or make judgment calls that we don't have enough proof for, because that just gets me upset. It seems like you're trying to put your name out there and get all this to your benefit and create a negative or a wrong narrative that's not actual. That's not factual, and it's that simple.
All right, so we'll put a bookmark in that, because we got to go cliffhanger here before the end of Friday morning. And as the investigation continues to grow, we'll keep taking looks at what's going on there.
Yes, a rude awakening for everybody that is going to be handling the World Cup. It needs to be better. Security needs to be better. Logistics needs to be better. Not enough police force or security. I mean, I went to a CCL game in Mexico that had more security and police force shown than there was at this game. So things got to change, and it is a rude awakening for everybody that's going to be involved in the World Cup, and they should be better for it.
All right, 3 games I want to talk to you about, and we'll kind of go. We'll do cliffhanger with these. I'll finish up with Atlanta and Montreal. That'll be the last one. Seattle's on the road Saturday night at Austin. Juice boxes have Seattle as a slight underdog at a +168. Austin is a +150. What do you think?
That's a tough one, man. It really is. Just because you don't know what you're going to get out of either team. I understand that Seattle's on the road and everybody's happy, everybody's excited. You know, it all feels like it's rainbows and sunshine. But there's still a lot to be proven. This team has taken on some teams that maybe are not contenders, or definitely are not contenders. And there's still a lot to be worked there. We'll see what happens with Leo Chu in this one. Brian Spencer said that he's traveling with the team. Austin, their last game, they ended up getting a win over New York City FC. I think that there are some things working there that maybe I didn't see as a fruition of this team. A couple of them is the fact that Heather O'Brien has been lights out. Rusi's been really, really good. Defensively, they've done better. They've been able to keep a lot of bodies behind the ball. So I think this could be a game that might be a draw. Actually, what's the draw on this one?
Draw on this one is +246.
Yeah, give me the draw all day, every day. I think that's what it's going to be. Can Seattle go out there and win it? Sure. But I feel like in Austin, with a team that just played on Tuesday at Sacramento Republic with a pretty first choice lineup, there might be a little bit of exhaustion level. You know, they came, they did one training here, and then they traveled this morning. So there might be something to work on there. Maybe Raul starts this one. There might be some shifting going on for this particular game. So I think a draw is pretty safe bet.
Match of the weekend is probably LAFC hosting Crew. Crew, by the way, on the road at LAFC is a +269.
Hold up. Say it again for me.
Crew at LAFC +269.
Ooh, lock me up, baby. Lock me up.
Draws a +300.
Ooh, that's good too, man. But I don't see Columbus drawing, man. I really don't. I think that they're going to see this as a statement. And as much as I like LAFC and what they've been doing, and they've been very efficient, especially playing without a lot of possession, they're well rested because of the suspended game. So it might be a really good matchup. But I think Columbus, LAFC is not going to bunker down. LAFC is not going to make it hard for LAFC to play. And they actually, I don't know if they have the tools to do that. So it's going to be back and forth. It's going to be a big game. I see Columbus coming up on top on this one. What's the over/under on goals on that?
Let's check our total and see where things lie. And obviously, the last match I want to talk to you about is Atlanta United going to Montreal. Plus 2.5 is a minus 190. 3.5 is a plus 131.
I don't know if I get enough on that, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't think it'll go more than 3.5, to be honest. Maybe you get that, but, I don't love it. So, yeah, just give me Columbus. If you want to, fill another little bit extra juice boxes on that 3.5, I'm good with it. I wouldn't go beyond that. But I think this was going to be an open-ended game. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be start-fill, and I think both teams see this as a statement win, so they're going to go all out, baby. This is going to be absolutely the game of the weekend. I'm going to make sure that I got my chips, my Modelo, and maybe a little nachos going on. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to be watching.
Then the last one I want to discuss with you is Atlanta going to Montreal. Atlanta's a plus 175. CF Montreal at home is a plus 138. But it was mentioned in a conversation that Garth Lagerwey had with Doug Robertson of the AJC that Garth now, he has laid out his plan for the 2 designated player spots and the future. And he says, we're going to be responsible, going to be rational, going to make good investments and good choices. He says, let me see if I can. All right. So here's how he says. We would prefer to have a player here for a longer period of time who's here because they're playing on an elite level and they want to be in Atlanta. They want to be playing in front of 47,000 people every week and are part of Atlanta United and are here because they live, breathe, sleep, die for Atlanta United. He wants to sign prime age players and do that going forward, targeting prime age players from top 5 leagues in Europe to fill the vacant 2 DP slots. So that's what Garth is looking for as a part of the players and with the windfall that they have currently to help the 2 DP spots getting filled.
Hey, and that's Garth Lagerwey mentality. And that's, I probably quoted half of what you said when I told you that when we found out that he was going to Atlanta, because that's what he does. He wants players that, just like Raul Ruiz and Nicolas Odero did with the Seattle Sounders, is their priority is not a stepping stool or looking forward to being trampoline into Europe or anything like that. They're going to come in. They're going to write the history of this club. They're going to be successful. They're going to breathe and sleep and everything Atlanta, just like these guys did for Seattle. And I think Atlanta's going to be better for it. You got the money that you needed, or that maybe you're getting back for Almada. You got a deal that you would never get for Giacomakis, and that's why you took it. And now you made some of those changes. You got an open canvas. It's time for Garth Lagerwey to put his little Rick Ross fro and go to work. And I believe it, baby. I mean, call me crazy. If I'm starting a team anywhere and I have money, infinite money, I'm getting Garth Lagerwey to handle my team. So I think that he's going to do that. I'm sure that doubters are starting to emerge in Atlanta when it comes to Garth. But believe me, man, trust the process. And I get that I probably don't have a lot of you guys' trust because of the Gonzalo Pineda thing, but Garth Lagerwey, he's a different type of dude. He's been there, done that. He's proven in all kinds of ways. So I like it, and I think they're going to be better off for it. When it comes to this game, Montreal and Atlanta, I see a draw. I'm not buying any more Montreal stock, but I'm not getting rid of all of it. I'm keeping a few just in case they make the playoffs. So I like some of the things that they're doing. They're getting some players back. Cocaro's back. Martinez, he's been in some sort of form. I like that 3-man lineup most times, not all the time. That midfield has a lot of athleticism, and I think that they could give Atlanta some issues. So I think it'll be a draw.
And as always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you at El Rolo NW and at Sports Pulso and at the Soccer Bar. As always, great to catch up with you, my friend. Thanks for leading us off on a Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Thank you. Love you, SDH family.
Might help if you unmute your microphone there, genius. All right. So that was Niko, and we taped that conversation. Yeah, it's amazing what happens, Abby, when you hit your mute button. So it's always great to catch up with Niko, and I mentioned that on Atlanta Soccer Tonight that he was there in Charlotte. You got Niko's perspective on things, and if you look on Niko's social media, I want to say his seats were end zone seats, and he had some of the video that he shot about what was going on in the stands after the match, and so he was there for a very, very special match that has been there for now a couple of times. If you haven't had the chance to watch it, still go watch it. I mean, it is that special of a match. The stuff on the field, not the stuff after the fact. But it's always great to catch up with Niko. Niko, by the way, we couldn't have him live on yesterday, and it was because he was literally in the air. And so we taped that. It's like he got on the ground in Seattle, and then he was like, "All right, let's get busy." And so let me get settled. And so we taped it late yesterday afternoon, early evening, and so that was the results of our conversation that we were able to have with Niko as we roll. And then yes, Abby, it was your point about the structured seating in Europe. That was what I wanted to bring up with Niko. And so here's the rundown for the morning. We're here till 10 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, Logan Fisher, the head coach of Tennessee SC, is going to join us as they get ready for the right-hand side of the bracket, the national semifinals in USLW. It was great to catch up with Willie Davis a couple days ago as he was getting ready for it, and he's got the home game at Wake Med. And so we're catching up with Logan before he gets on the bus. And they're getting on the bus, and they are going from Nashville area to Raleigh, to Wake Med, Cary, North Carolina. So we're catching up with Logan again, and we'll catch up with him about the right-hand side of the bracket. Just as a quick reminder, you're going to get all of your episode programming. That's going to be coming up later today. There's going to be a new episode of the Soccer for US POD. Bart sent that over this morning, and so that'll be out today. We've got our weekly programming on USL Championship, USL League One. That'll be out this morning. You've also got the programming on USLW, where we're going to let you know how the teams got to the Final Four. We're going to bring the highlights of the Detroit City match, and we're going to bring that in as their victory over Indy 11 got them into the Final Four. Plus, we're going to rerun the interview that we had with Willie Davis and put in the interview that we had with Logan Fisher. And we're going to piece that all together later this afternoon. That's going to be a show. So that'll be USLW. So we'll go over that. It's the last weekend of the regular season in USL League 2. And we will let you know what's going on with that. We'll go over the playoff picture, all of that stuff. League 2 will be later today. WPSL show will be later today. They are in their regional finals, and we'll package all of that for you and let you know where folks stand. There's a great story for the team in Sioux Falls in the regional finals in their corner of the bracket. We'll tell you that story, and we'll get you ready for what's going on in the WPSL. And obviously with the NPSL, we've got that regional final as well. We caught up with Diane Smith, the owner and GM in Bristol, and we're going to put that interview in our interviews with Carlos Rubio and Dale Parker, and the last interview that we did with John Mercado. So we're going to piece all of that together and have that as an NPSL show later today as well. So USL League One, USL Championship, that's 11 o'clock and noon for releases this morning. Bart's Soccer for US POD will be released this morning, early this afternoon. And then we have the other 4 leagues that we pay attention to. That'll be this afternoon. So you're going to get a lot of the episodic programming coming out today because there's a lot going on as they get at the end of regular season, heading into the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. And then Michael Parkhurst joining us at 9:15. And we'll have our Friday free kick with Cap and find out what's going on with Beyond Goals. What I want to do with Michael to start things off, after we talk about Rhode Island FC and what's been going on with him, Michael's got to be out by 9:45. So what we'll do with Michael when he comes in at 9:15 is we'll talk about Rhode Island FC, but I also want to talk about managing your emotions. And that goes back to what we saw in the Copa America, where with what happened with the Copa in the Uruguay match, how you manage your emotions and how Greg and Michael discuss that with their mentees about controlling your emotions on the field and making sure that you play within yourself and how important that kind of a thing is. So we'll use that as kind of like a starting point to get into things and coaching changes and how your voices change and how you sort all of that information out, all those kinds of topics. We'll have that with Michael Parkhurst coming up at 9:15. So Logan Fisher, head coach at Tennessee SC at 9, and Michael Parkhurst at 9:15. We've got our referee assignments. We've got our juice boxes. We'll get into weekend whip around here in just a little bit. We've got all of that information coming up for the next half hour. So let me go through the rundown and see who got up early and joined us early. It was David. Good morning. Morning, Abby. And let's see. So morning, Bam. And so, yes, Bam, Abby, and David discussing everything going on in the League's Cup. Bam likes the 10 p.m. starts local time down under. So, the prices are going to be set. Abby's mentioning ticket prices being the same for World Cup tickets, and FIFA sets the prices. But, yes, you're going to end up with the secondary market exploding. But, yeah, the get-in prices for the final and the secondary market are going to be nuts. And I know that some folks are going to have six figures, and they're going to want to drop it on a suite there at Hard Rock, and they're going to get that suite. But no, it's just this is going to be, I think, a new level of financial ticket price awareness that I think we're going to be seeing, especially with this tournament, Club World Cup in 25. And then the World Cup in 26. It's going to be, I don't know if we're going to have sticker shock, but I'm sure that we might have some kind of sticker shock that's associated with all this kind of stuff. But yeah, yes, cray is definitely the word to use when it came to the ticket prices for the semifinals. There were a lot. There was Colombia. I will say this, and Abby Smith says you feel Colombia was more represented than Uruguay. Frankly, I mean, for every match that Colombia was in this tournament, it was unreal to see the support that Colombia and Jessica and Jessica Charman can speak to this. Just how Colombia showed up everywhere. They showed up in Houston. I think Glendale, had a match, but they showed up everywhere, and they showed up in numbers. I mean, they were traveling, and it was a traveling party. And I mean that both figuratively and literally. It was a traveling party, and that building was dressed in yellow in Charlotte. There were a lot of folks that were there. And so it's been really cool to see the country's fans represent the way that they have. It's been really cool to see what's going on. And Bam was wondering why what we saw at the end of the match was the reason they took it out of South America in the first place. And I think this one was straight up financial. United States was like, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and do it? You know, it's a good warm-up act for us. And at the same time, it brings and it's been here in this country before, but it's been a very long time. But you end up with the opportunity to introduce it to a new generation of fans, a new marketplace, those kinds of things. And for the U.S., it was a warm-up. You know, it was a warm-up for what you could see with them coming up in 25 and 26 and beyond. And so for the U.S. to sit there and say, hey, look, you have the United States, and you have this new area of possible financial windfalls and generating all of this revenue. And it was a chance for the U.S. to sit there and say, "Yeah, come on, go ahead and bring it. We'll host it. We'll host it for you." And you've seen the results so far, where there were a couple of venues and a couple of matchups where it's been a problem. I think Glendale has been a bit of an issue, and the crowds in Glendale, I'm sure, have not met expectations. But pretty much everywhere else where we've seen matches, you've had a lot of folks. Like I said, there were a couple in Glendale that kind of raised the people's eyebrow a little bit as to the lack of folks, and it may have just come down to matchup and gauged interest and everything. Abby was like, "Do you think security should have been more present and shown up in more of a larger group?" Yes, and yes. It seemed to have gone, and I think that along the same time, Abby says it seemed to have gone on too long. It did. But I mean, if we sit there and we take a clock to it, for us, it might seem like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it really probably wasn't. But also, that's also probably camera dependent when it comes to television. But yes, any time is too long. It did take too long, and I would have thought that there would have been more security surrounding those sections. You know how traditionally, like we'll see in international matches, where you won't necessarily see it in American football games, but you'll see the security line down the aisle. Those kinds of things. I don't think we saw that. David says to contrast the euro difference to the legal means of reselling tickets in the U.S. makes it near impossible. Many European nations do not allow it or have very restrictive rules, which allow fans to be separated easily. Let's get rid of price gouging ticket retailers. David, I'd love for that to happen. I don't quite see that happening when it comes to the ticket retailers. I think ticket retailers are always going to be a part and parcel of the process. Bam wanted to know what Sounders need to do to beat LAFC in Open Cup. Well, first off, I think that this match is going to be at Starfire. I don't think that it's going to be at Lumen because of a concert. So I think they had to get a waiver to have the match at Starfire. I think that first and foremost is going to be part of the equation for Seattle, is that it will not be in the stadium venue. So you're going to have the crowd on top of you at Starfire. Unless they got the waiver to change the venue and be where it is. But that, to me, is one. The fact that it might be at Starfire. And two, I don't know. I think that it's going to be a tall order for Seattle to do it. But I think that having it at Starfire, I think first and foremost, I think that that's going to be an advantage that we would not have necessarily had when it came to this process. So, glad that David and Abby got to see each other the other night at the Fraction for Open Cup. Got some cool stuff with Caleb. LAFC wants revenge, and LAFC, according to Bam, is going to win. And we mentioned other players in the discussion with the discussion with Niko about Garth Lagerwey and the quotes that appeared in the AJC. The discussions about Miranchuk, the attacking midfielder at Atalanta, and as this continues to evolve, Nick has been keeping an eye on this, and he's done really well. And in analyzing what Atalanta can do with talent, and early thoughts from Nick on this, and I don't think I'm talking out of school, is that Atalanta is very, very good at A, recruiting, and B, molding attacking talent. So a player like Miranchuk will have grown his game at Atalanta. But if Atalanta is getting these numbers financially from Atlanta United to get Miranchuk from Atalanta and bring him from Serie A to MLS, that unless the agent comes in, and like I said, this is Nick's analysis of this, that if the agent comes in and says, that there's going to be someplace else that is interested, and the agent for Miranchuk is playing Atalanta off Atlanta United and a third team that we do not know, that Miranchuk will be making his way to Atlanta United, because if he doesn't, and this deal gets to, within 100 meters, it's like you're in the home stretch, you've turned around 4 and you're coming down the home stretch. By all indications, there is a gap. We don't know where the gap gets negotiated from what Atalanta is looking for and what Atlanta United is looking to pay. But if this deal is where it is, and it's in the home stretch, according to Gianluca Di Marzio and some others, like I said, these are just reports. If this deal goes down, then it's probably going to be somewhere between that 10 to 15 million. If it does not go down, and Atlanta United and Atalanta have been having these discussions, if this deal does not go down, there is a chance that Miranchuk will sit at Atalanta, because Atalanta if somebody comes to Atalanta traditionally with a deal, they're going to come and they're going to work on a deal and get it done. If it doesn't happen, then that means that the agent has come in to try to muddy up the water and made it more difficult for Atalanta, which in turn will make it more difficult for Miranchuk to even play at Atalanta. And so that's the key here in all of this, is that if right now, if Atlanta and Atalanta are having conversations, the way that Nick looks at it is like this, that they will go down at some point. We don't know what the numbers will be, but it should go down. If it does, agent has gotten into the mix and has gotten into the mix too far, and Miranchuk will sit if this deal does not happen in its current form. Miranchuk is at the danger of sitting at Atalanta if the deal with Atlanta United does not go through. So keep an eye on it. That's Nick's analysis of it when we were having conversations about attacking talent and Miranchuk and what Atalanta does with talent, so on and so forth. So keep an eye on that. That is where we are involving Miranchuk and possible discussions, adding him to the roster, that kind of stuff. So that's the analysis of what we were seeing. But yes, Gianluca Di Marzio is one of those tier A folks that we look at when it comes to activity in Europe. Good morning, Tom Cato. And the bam about Charlotte. Only thing slower was the police before the England-Netherlands game. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it was not good. And Abby, it also depends if the player wants to come. If he doesn't, then don't try to talk him into it. Only wants players who want to come. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Abby says again, if he doesn't want to come, then forget it. Let Atalanta sit him. Doesn't care. Doesn't want to come, move on. So that's where we are with Miranchuk and possibilities and where Atalanta is in the process. Okay, weekend whip around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And we'll go through all the matchups, and we'll go through the referee. We'll go through what Pro is doing with their assignments. Logan Fisher at 9, Michael Parkhurst 9:15, and then we will wrap it up with gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and announcer assignments, and all those other things that we have on the table, unless news breaks, which it probably will at 10:05 when we're done for another week. Remember, if you can make it on Sunday, out to Lee and White and catch up with what Scott Flood and the Flood Project are doing and SDH Network in the Summer of Soccer. Go and have a great time. I think it might end up being like an all-day deal where you're going to have the Euro final and you're going to have the Copa final and you're going to have everything going on at Monday night and over there in the West End. So if you can make it to Lee and White over on the West End on Sunday, please do. Scott's done a great job of promoting the beautiful game and having a lot of different things going on there. And one last chance to dance for both of these finals on Sunday, the Euro and the Copa. So make your way over there and have some fun on a Sunday afternoon. All right, weekend whip around. Going through all the juice boxes and the availability reports and all those kinds of things as we get into these matchups here. And obviously, we talked about CF Montreal and Atlanta United. Obviously, Montreal favored at a plus 138. Atlanta United coming off of Open Cup and squad rotation and things like that at a plus 175. I would just as a guidepost, look at who did not play in the midweek and have them as a part of your starting lineup on the weekend. And it probably means that your back line is probably going to be Noah and Derek to a certain extent. It's going to have Brooks on the right-hand side, and we'll see what it looks like in the attack and in the midfield. So, once again, take your guidepost of your roster from Tuesday and roll it forward. We'll see what the minutes are and the wear and tear. And like I said, this time of year between now and the All-Star break for June and July, this is where the physio staff really does come into play with all the analysis and everything. But just as a guidepost, backline is probably going to be Noah, Derek, Brooks as 3 of your 4. And then probably Ronald Hernandez as your left back if you're going to do it that way. And then you look at maybe Bart Sleesh probably as part of your midfield. And it's Bart, Jay, maybe Nick Firmino. And then yesterday, Jamal was involved in practice, and to what extent we don't really know, but we'll see what the front line looks like as a part of the evolution of everything getting into the weekend. Montreal, tough place to play. Jared has been there before. Jason's been there before. Stade Saputo is not an easy place to play. It's not an easy trip. And going off of a match on Tuesday, flying into Montreal, going through customs, all those kinds of things, it is not an easy trip to take. So we'll see what it is with the 7:40 kick for Atlanta United and for CF Montreal. Also at 7:40 kick, DC United hosting Nashville SC. Nashville SC, we had Lucas Panzica on earlier in the week to discuss BJ Callahan and what it's going to look like for Nashville and what BJ Callahan wants to have and what it wants to be on in their next iteration of having a head coach. DC's a minus 111. Nashville's a plus 272, and your draw is a plus 281. FC Cincinnati and Charlotte, there's a lot of intrigue attached to this one. And Cincinnati's a minus 143. Miles is out for the Olympics, and so he's on international duty. Center backs and FC Cincinnati apparently are not on speaking terms because they're all either injured or out for international duty. So I wonder what Pat Noonan is going to do when it comes to the center backs and look at the back. What's it going to look like for them for the next little while? So FC Cincinnati a minus 143. Draws a plus 301. Charlotte on the road is a plus 357. Revs hosting Orlando City, and the purple team is favored because we don't know, frankly, which New England Revolution team we're going to get. Purple team's a plus 152 on the road. Revs are a plus 162, and your draw is a plus 260. Toronto FC hosting Philadelphia Union. Toronto a plus 110. Philadelphia is a plus 221. Your draw is a plus 271. Numbers in Austin and Seattle have flipped a certain amount. They flipped a little bit since our conversation with Niko. Austin now something of a prohibitive favorite at a plus 152. Draws a plus 247. Seattle is a plus 169. 8:40 kick also Chicago and NYC. NYC will be coming to Atlanta in the midweek. Fire a plus 131. Draws a plus 260. NYC is a plus 188. Keep an eye on that one. We'll go through the availability report in just a little bit, and we'll see what who folks have and who they don't. FC Dallas at 8:40, also hosting Galaxy. LAG is a plus 134. Draws a plus 270, and FC Dallas is a plus 179. 8:40, Houston and Minnesota United. Houston big on the minus side at a minus 156 with Minnesota United's most recent run of form. Minnesota United, by the way, on the road a plus 380, and your draws a plus 319. St. Louis City SC is a plus 104. Vancouver played in the midweek in the Can Champ, and it was a bit of a grinder. They only had a one-goal advantage over Pacific in the first leg of the semifinals. So Vancouver comes in off of that match in the Canadian Championship at a plus 225, understandably so. And there was some injury concerns for Vancouver as well. Draws a plus 283. 9:40 kick, Colorado and Red Bulls. Colorado a plus 106 in the altitude. Red Bulls are a plus 241, and the draw is a plus 261. Portland at a 10:25 start. So that to me means that's going to be the FS1 match. And so keep an eye on that start time. Portland is a plus 118. RSL on the road is a plus 196. Keep an eye on that one. And your draw is a plus 287. 10:40 Eastern time kicks. LAFC and Crew, we talked about that. LAFC is minus 119. Crew's a plus 281. Draws north of plus 303. And San Jose hosting Sporting. San Jose is a minus 108. Draws a plus 296. And Sporting, after playing in the midweek in Open Cup in a match that ended like in middle of the night, past midnight, Sporting is a plus 249 on the road with San Jose at a minus 108. And so those are your numbers that are looking at what we're staring at when it comes to the matchups that are there. let's see. So Bam with the time change says that the Euro finals at 5 a.m., the Copa finals at 10 a.m. But we'll see what's going on there. Abby mentioning what's going on at Wimbledon with the player from Russia not showing a Russian flag by his name. That's I don't know if that's a production choice. I don't know if that is a mandate from the All England Lawn and Tennis Club that Russia will not have players with flag designations and those kinds of things. That is an interesting element to all of this. Player availability reports. We need to get into that. And match day 26, apparently you get to watch every game on the free side of Apple TV and Season Pass. So getting into player availability reports. Let's see who's available and who is not. Obviously, Edwin and Jamal for Atlanta United, Caleb going away on international duty. Danny Pereira for Austin, Junior Urso for Charlotte. Chicago's got a lot of folks out. Chase Gasper, Andrew Gutman, Federico Navarro, Tobias Sahlquist. Shaq is still away on international duty. His team lost. Xherdan Shaqiri still out on international duty. I think it was a point that was made by Frank Klopas, is that they are in touch with the player, and we do have a plan in place, and so he's keeping us posted on what he's doing, and then you have he is not immediately returned after his team got bounced from the Euros. And so Xherdan Shaqiri, keep an eye on how long he's not going to be coming back to Chicago, just because his tournament's over and he's just not back to Chicago yet. The other player out, 6 players out for Chicago, by the way, Carlos Terán. Nick Hagelin, Matt Miazga out, center backs for Cincinnati. Malik Pinto is the third that is out for Cincinnati. Colorado, Moise Bombito, coming back from international duty with Canada. Don't know what his status is going to be right now. He's listed as out. Daniel Chacon and Jackson Travis also out for Colorado. Jason Russell Rowe with, once again, questionable for international duty. Once again, don't know what the number of minutes that he was available for but didn't play for Canada, if he's back or if he's going to be there in the third place match. Evan Bush also out for Columbus. FC Dallas, a lot of folks out. Delgado, Ferreira, Frazier, Giovanni Jesus, Paxton Pomacall, and Alan Velasco. DC United, Antley, Birnbaum, Fletcher, and Hopkins. Russell Canals is out, but not due to injury. Houston Dynamo, Carrasquilla is on international duty. Quinones, Steris, Valverde, all out. Questionable Mackenzie Gaines with a lower body injury. LAFC only has Delavalle out by injury. Christian Oliveira is on international duty. Galaxy, Brugman out, Perez out with a hamstring. Out, international duty, Messi and Suarez. Out, Farias and Ferreira. And Rojas on international duty. And remember, last time that Sergi Busquets picked up a red. So that's also in discussion as well. Minnesota United, Harvey, Oluwaseyi, and St. Clair all out on international duty. Injured Bacharach, Clint Irwin, Timu Pukki, Will Trapp. So Minnesota is down to a third keeper in net this weekend. Set your fantasy teams appropriately. CF Montreal, international duty for Chouanier, Piet, and Joel Waterman. Nashville has Julian Gaines, Godoy, Leal, McNaughton, and those are all injuries. Schaffelberg on international duty, questionable are Coleman and Surridge. Revs have a boatload of folks out still. Shankalai, both Carlos and Nacho Heel, Peyton Miller, questionable. Boateng, Barrero, Kay, Lima, McNamara, and Bobby Wood. That's why the number for the Revs is so high. New York City, Malachi Jones out. McFarland, Maxi Morales, Burke Risa all out. Red Bulls, Forsberg out, Stroud, Ngoma, and Roald Mitchell. Purple team, Halliday, Mason Stadahar. Tahir Reed-Brown is questionable. Union, Andre Blake was in and around workouts as the 4 keepers were there for Philadelphia. He is listed as out. Makes you wonder what they're going to do. Are they going to go back to the 18-year-old academy keeper, or are they going to go with the backup that was there for Philadelphia? That's the question for Jim Curtin coming in on the weekend. What's your keeper situation going to look like for you this weekend, where you are a decided underdog? LaFleur and Ua also out, questionable. Bueno and Jose Martinez still out on international duty. Max Crepeau and Kamal Miller are still out on international duty for Portland. Laureate Miller and Zach McGraw out. Questionable for Real Salt Lake, Justin Glad. Bonilla, Holt, Pablo Ruiz, and Marcelo Silva out. San Jose, questionable. Akapo, lower body injury, out. Daniel, Gruezo, Marcinkowski, Ricketts, and Bruno Wilson. Rodriguez out for Seattle. For Sporting, once again, also remember they played in the midweek. Questionable, Castellanos, Shallowy, and Remy Voltaire. Logan and Dembe out. For All Caps, out. Alm, Hebert on international duty. Klaus, Nielsen, Ostrak, Pompeu out for the year, and Josh Yarrow, they're all out on injury. Toronto, Coelho, Cervena, Spicer out. Questionable, Etienne, and then Larea and Osorio on international duty. Vancouver, Etakubi, and Tristan Blackman are out. Questionable, Ali Ahmed on international duty. Krylock and Pedro Vite are questionable for Vancouver. So once again, set your fantasy lineups. Set your fantasy, set your fantasy, set your fantasy. If you haven't joined the fantasy league, please do it. And then what you get to do there is you get to beat me on a weekly basis. That's the easy thing. And go to the Jason Wright Agency, Wright with a W, AGEN on Twitter. Jason Wright with a W Agency on the Facebooks. You can join the league, and it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing for community and all of that too. So join the fantasy league, and you get to hang out with all of us and watch me struggle every single season that we've had the fantasy league. So that's been fun stuff that we've been able to do. Like I said, Logan Fisher coming up in a handful of minutes, and he'll be here to talk about Tennessee SC. Michael Parkhurst coming up at 9:15 this morning. So looking at the let's see, where do we want to go? Let's go to pro and quickly get into what to keep an eye on when it comes to the cruise for the weekend. And we'll let you know what's going on with men in the middle and folks in the middle, and who's going to be your ARs and what to watch and all of that kind of stuff before Logan Fisher joins us up. Oh, and by the way, the definitive angle is not up. The new version is not up. So we're still waiting for the definitive angle for anything that might have had the collective hair on our neck to go 98 different directions in the past week. Okay. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is in the middle for FC Cincinnati and Charlotte. Yunus Marakchi is your VAR. Philip Dujic in the middle for DC and Nashville. Soren Stoichka is your VAR. Ted Unkelman in the middle for Montreal and Atlanta. Kevin Stott is your VAR. ARs Jeremy Hansen, Ryan Graves, and your fourth is Michael Venn. Sergi Boyko man in the middle for New England and Orlando City. Fotis Bazakas is your VAR. Alan Chapman in the middle for Toronto and Philadelphia. Chantal Boudreau is your AR number one. Greg Dopka, your VAR. Austin and Seattle, Jair Marufo is in the middle. Jorge Gonzalez is your VAR. Chicago and NYC, Rosendo Mendoza is the man in the middle. Kevin Terry Jr. is your VAR. Remy Touchon is in the middle for FC Dallas and LAG. JC Rivero is your VAR. Houston and Minnesota. John Freeman, no relation, in the middle. And Ricardo Montero Araya is your VAR in that one. All caps in Vancouver. Pierre-Luc Lazier is in the middle. Daniel Radford is your VAR. Colorado and Red Bulls. Timothy Ford is in the middle for that one. Alejandro Mariscal is your VAR. Portland and RSL. Joe Dickerson is in the middle for Portland and RSL. Armando Villarreal is your VAR in that one. LAFC and Crew. Lucas Zapala is in the middle for that one. Soren Stoichka is on the second match of a double header as VAR. Tom Supple also is in the second match of a double header for him, East Coast, West Coast, as an AVAR. San Jose and Sporting, Alexis De Silva is the man in the middle. Corey Rockwell is the AR number one. Fotis Bazakos, another early game, late game VAR. And Jonathan Johnson is your AVAR. So that's what you're looking at for those matchups. We do have the ones that we do, keep an eye on a regular basis, and so we'll see what happens in those matches. But Ted Unkel, man in the middle for Atlanta United as they visit what is going on the road, and it looks like Emma Richards will be in the middle for Atlanta United 2 Columbus crew, Ricardo Ocampo, Sarah Gaddis, your ARs, Joshua Belk is your fourth at the Fraction on Sunday for Atlanta United 2 and Columbus crew 2. Wasting no time, hour number 2, and it's time to catch up with Logan Fisher, and we will see what's going on with Coach as they're getting ready for Tennessee SC and North Carolina Courage in the right-hand side of the bracket, and they're getting ready for the USL Final Four. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing all right. Yeah, the way how much of a creature of habit are you when it comes to routine on game days and things like that? Do you have superstitions or rituals or whatever you want to call them for game days?
I wouldn't say rituals, but we definitely, from the time we go out to, the warm up itself to, everything. I think I said consistent environment a million times in the last interview, and again, that's one of the things that no surprises for the girls. Can they be as comfortable as possible? So they know exactly what to expect down to the minute, and but no real rituals. Try and take a quick moment and pray before every game, and that's it for me. So.
Well, and the reason I ask, somewhat selfishly, is because, every time that you've come on the show here in this stretch run, you've continued to win. And I didn't know if, we should take any kind of credit for that.
Oh, hey, we'll send a trophy your way.
I will take it. When you look at this run that you've been able to piece together, I know that everyone's gunning for you every single time. You've got the bullseye on the front of the jersey and the back of the jersey each and every time that you go out, because everybody looks at national rankings. Oh, Tennessee Soccer Club's coming to town. We'll try and knock them off of their perch and send them home early. When it comes to managing expectations and making sure that you still play within yourself, how difficult is it as the season gets longer and longer and longer to tune out all of this noise that folks like me keep bringing up?
Again, just taking each game as it goes. The girls obviously always know what the task is at hand going into it, and again, we don't. Like I told you a couple interviews ago, we spoke about the national rankings for the first week because it was new to the franchise, and we enjoyed it for that first week, and it hasn't been brought up since. So we know the job that's at hand, and it's to take each game at a time and do our maximum effort to get a win in that time frame leading up to the game, and then we move on to the next one the second the game is over. So we won against Asheville to clinch a conference title, and we enjoyed it on the field for 10 minutes, and then it was all eyes on NC Courage immediately afterwards. So
how difficult was that environment? Because a lot of folks know that you go to Asheville, you take on Asheville City, whether it's on the men's side or the women's side, that it is a tough place to play, and going through that weekend to get to where you are now. How difficult was the weekend on and off the field, managing everything and expectations and knowing what you wanted to do? How difficult a grinder was it up there?
That was a tough weekend. I actually got sick. Don't know if you can hear it in my voice.
A little cloggy with the nasal, yeah.
Yeah, so in between game 1 and game 2, I was locked in a hotel. Didn't even see the girls on Saturday, and then thankfully I have an incredible staff that was able to get me through the game on Sunday. So just little things like that, people taking knocks on the first day. How quickly can we get them recovered and ready to go for the Sunday? Down to Friday night, the game got delayed because of weather. So our warm-up is interrupted, and just the little details that I've had to commend the girls multiple times on throughout the year of, this is a pre-professional league. We've got girls that have went on to play pro out of the club in this past 5-6 months, and we keep pushing for more of them to move on and take that same direction. And how we help with that is to give them the most professional environment to succeed in. And obviously I've got friends in the pro game, and nothing, even at the USL Championship level, they strive to make sure that there's no blips, and there's always something small that comes up, but our girls have handled everything this season. You know, we played in multiple home stadiums. We, you know, little story going down to SSA, we get stuck in Chattanooga traffic, and
Been there.
yeah, we're rushing to get to the state. Just little things like that. Obviously, nothing massive. Obviously, what we control really, really well from a staff perspective. But the girls just handle everything so professionally. You know, they just get on with the job that's at hand. So, you know, the fans definitely played a part in the weekend. You know, obviously it's really nice, and you know you have to commend Asheville for the environment that they've been able to produce, not only at their previous stadium that I got to go to when I was on the men's side, but also what they're doing here at UNC Asheville and the environment that they create and the fan base that they've created. And it was a tough night on Sunday, but you know, tactically we were able to stifle them as much as we possibly can and take our chances when they arose. So
how difficult is it when you're sick and you're locked in a hotel room? And I know that it's like, are you passing notes under the doors? Are you like, you know, yelling through the door, you know, assignments and things that are notes getting passed? How does this work when you're there? Or is it complete and total trust in the assistants that are there, that they know what's going on? We've been around each other long enough. We're in that much of a rhythm that they can handle it. They can pick up the phone. They can call me. I can be on speaker. How does that work?
well, in all honesty, I massively trust my staff. They you know, they took the brunt of everything that needed to be done. And again, we honestly didn't. We've played Asheville so many times. I actually took Saturday as an opportunity to give the girls a breather, and just to refresh. And this has been such a grind this summer. A lot of them, you know, haven't had a chance to see family or you know, go to the beach like every other college student wants to do. So gave them the day to go explore Asheville and you know, in a smart way, obviously go get some smoothies and bond as a team. And then we picked it up again early Sunday morning and went through the video of Asheville versus Florida. So but I, you know, massive trust in my staff. They have been around me long enough now. This is the second year. They know my standard and expectations. So a couple of assignments were texted into the group chat, but you know, they took it and ran with it, and they know exactly what needs to be done at all times. So
when it comes to being in a rhythm like that for with you and your coaching staff, was there a moment in a season where you sat there and it's like, yeah, okay, we're of the same brain here? Or was it just something that evolved over time? Was it one of those snap things where it's like, yep, okay, we're all on the same page? Or just being around each other, you kind of get into that Borg-like environment where it's like, yeah, okay, we are of the same brain here?
no, it was probably a slow burner. You know, the girls joke a little bit. I'm a little bit easier to work with this year than I was last year. You know, to take a group that really struggled in year one and to get them to the level that we got them last year, and then increase it into this year, there was going to be a little bit of growing pain there, and you know, for the coaching staff as well. You know, I'm massive on detail and organization, and you know, last year I always point to last year, that South Carolina Bantams result on the road where we get last minute equalizer from Meredith Nye. I think that was the moment in our season where everything just clicked. We took a weakened squad down there. We had a couple of injuries at the time, and to grind out a result against a very, very good team. I think, you know, that's that moment where the coaching staff and the players, we all just sort of merged into one, and you know, then it really started not becoming robotic, but also, you know, or just everyone just on the same page and moving in the right direction. And obviously, you know, I always point to that South Carolina result because we go on an 8-game winning streak from there and clinch the playoffs. So you know, until Asheville a couple of weeks ago in the regular season, we hadn't lost a regular season game in something like, I think it was 20 games or 19 games or something like that. So, you know, definitely a slow burner, again, it just comes to the standard and expectation that we set as a club and as a franchise, and this is what's going to be done, and everyone moving in that same direction.
Another couple of minutes here with Logan Fisher, the head coach at Tennessee SC, as they get ready for North Carolina Courage and traveling to Cary. We're catching up with him before he hops on the bus and heads to Cary to take on Courage at WakeMed this weekend in the national semifinals in the USLW League. When it comes to what we do sometimes with some of our other programming is we have a lot of high school programming and we have college programming that's aside from all the leagues that we cover. One of the features that we like to have is what we call Make That Kid an Offer. And it's for an athlete that for whatever reason, they're too whatever. And yes, I did just use air quotes on the video version, where they could be too small. They could be, they could be coming from too small a town. They could be too small an individual. They could be too light. The weight might be an issue, that they look like they, very, very skinny, and they look like they may not fit into the cleats that you've been given. For whatever reason, they're not getting the looks that you think they deserve, or they think that they should be getting more looks and could be at a higher level than where they currently are. When it comes to the athletes on your roster, does anyone fit into that overlooked element where you're sitting there saying, I don't know why they're at this particular location? They need to be at a higher level, and folks need to be looking out for this player because they are far better than what they're being looked at right now. Does anybody fit that, Make That Kid an Offer look for you?
I have a ton, man. Even from, I have to shout out Keaton Mitchell for she is at a massive school at UT, obviously easing their, Joe there at UT is easing her into that system, I'm sure. But she's one that, if you look at her minutes and what she was able to give to UT last season compared to the level that she's played at this summer, I think, that's one where, the folks that follow the SEC and the football in the SEC there, that, she's going to be one definitely to watch out for. I've spoken about her on the show a couple of times. Meredith Nye, that's another one at Tennessee Tech where, in the right system at the next level in the professional ranks, she is a phenomenal asset. She breaks up play. She does exactly what we ask of her. Again, she fits our system perfectly, and she played tons of minutes last year for us, and has been very solid in our plans and lineups this year as well. So even going back to, she made a debut earlier on in the year, but is now getting a bit of a run. Bailey Fiore in goal for us, Division II goalkeeper. Plays at Trevecca Nazarene here in Nashville, and she's another one where, does she fit the profile of your average, Power 5 Division I goalkeeper? Probably not. So a little on the shorter side when you just look at her. But what she was able to do in those 2 games in the playoffs, 2 clean sheets, multiple massive saves in massive moments for us, coming out claiming crosses especially against an Asheville side that not only is, they have the size, but rely on set pieces a little bit as well. So, we have multiple in the squad. We're very blessed to have, your Anna Haddocks, your Katie Shays, your Maddie Podolskis, your Courtney Jones, all playing at massive schools: Alabama, Vanderbilt, Auburn, South Carolina. But the core of our group comes from, the schools that you look on paper and you think, oh, they must not be that good. But, Destiny at center back for us plays at Chowan in North Carolina, has been phenomenal for us this season. Then you got your Tennessee Techs, Trevecca Nazarenes. It's just what we've been able to do as a group comes down to the individuals that we brought in. Again, you can't judge a book by its cover, and what you see on paper isn't always true. And to the system works for these girls, and they get to play with some of the best girls in the country, but they also, they're not there to just take part. They're there to be a part of the group that takes over. So They've been phenomenal for us, and it's a testament to them as individuals.
As always, it's great to have you on. You're getting ready to take on North Carolina Courage in the national semifinals on the right-hand side of the bracket this weekend. Be safe getting down there. Have a great match, and we'll be keeping an eye on things, and we'll be catching up with you soon. Thanks for dropping by before you hop on the bus.
Yeah, thanks, John. We'll speak to you guys soon.
All right, that's Logan Fisher, head coach at Tennessee SC. He's going to be getting ready for hopping on the bus and driving to Cary, North Carolina. Right-hand side is Tennessee SC taking on North Carolina Courage. Left-hand side of the bracket, Colorado Storm and Detroit City. And those are your national semifinals in USLW. Once again, you got Detroit City and Colorado Storm at Keyworth at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. 6 o'clock start for Tennessee SC and North Carolina Courage. It is 9:15 on a Friday. And I was this close to doing the Billy Joel joke. I was this close to doing the Billy Joel lyric. But it's that time where we catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, where we're going to talk to our mogul in training about what's going on at Rhode Island, managing your emotions, and all the other things that are associated with the sport as they get ready for mentees. And so let me see if I can find my fancy opening, and then that way we can get things going with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring like this. Morning, Cap.
Good morning, John.
Let's see. So the way that I always like to start things off with you is discuss your golf game.
Well, it's been all right, actually. It's been all right. Me and
one of us,
me and a buddy are in the quarterfinals of like this tournament at the club, and so we're playing on Sunday. So we'll see.
So what kind of is this? Obviously, best ball pairs, or what are we doing here? And what's at stake? Do you get like a shiny trophy? Is it like the Supporters Shield Captain America pie plate? What do we have here?
Good question. I haven't a clue. No idea, honestly. First time I've ever played in it, so just along for the ride. Just upsetting people because I keep playing well with my like 15 handicap.
Are you sure that you're a 15 handicap, sir?
That's what the numbers tell me.
There you go. See, that's it. It's like you have to go with the math. The math says I'm a 15, therefore I'm a 15. And everybody sits there and goes, how did you do that? Well, hey, I got lucky, I guess. It's just how this is going, man. My game's coming together. It's all at playing consistently. It's all I know how the sound bites are supposed to go in the clubhouse. I know how this rolls.
Exactly.
Rhode Island FC. Some of the draws are turning into wins. And I think it's 10 draws right now on the season so far. And I know that drives you nuts. But you're getting some draws turning into wins, and you had a great result the other night where you were down 3-1 and came back to get a point with a 3-3 draw. Well done on that regard.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the past couple of weeks have been really good. We had 2 wins in a row, including a big one at Louisville where they were undefeated. And we went and put 5 on them at their place, which is crazy. We played really well, and then followed that one up with another win. And a good tie. This was one of those good ties for sure this past weekend, and which was really good because it was a home game. We had fireworks. It was a big crowd, so it was a really good response from the team to get back there and tie.
What's it been like to see things grow and evolve in this season where you might drift in occasionally, see what's going on from the club level? You sit there in the owner's box, whenever you can catch up with them, or you go and find a road game. What's it been like to see this finally come to fruition on the field, and then have those moments up in Rhode Island where they're hitting the final spikes on these edges in the construction? What's it been like for you to see all this stuff come to the fore?
Yeah, it's pretty cool just to see it all come together and how long everything takes. And just to think, I remember when we were having discussions, we hadn't even signed a player yet. And it's like, God, where are we going to find everyone? And how are you going to put a team together? And So going into year 2, I think it'll be so much more easier starting from a base, and we like a lot of guys on the team. So we won't have to be finding 20 players, that's for sure. But just really cool to see everything evolve. It's some of the behind the scenes conversations and things. You're like, man, if this or that went the other way, I'm not sure we'd be here today.
I mean, it's been fun to see something grow from the ground up, and you end up with all of these different ideas of, okay, this is what we'd like for the franchise to be. And knowing you and knowing how competitive you are as an individual, I know you're like, it's like, I want us to win. I want us to win championships. We got to chase after Lou City. We've got to chase after, Charleston and everybody in the East, and we've got to make inroads. But it's, being a first year team, it's a tough slog. I mean, what have you learned about yourself in this whole venture that you didn't know about yourself, either as a player looking at other players or someone who's a part of a group that wants something to succeed? Have you learned anything about yourself?
Yeah, just how important, patience and perspective is. It's so easy to judge from the outside of decisions and lineups and subs and how you would do it versus how it's going. And then, with results and things like that. And, I think that I'm pretty level headed, but, there's other guys, other people involved, and, just trying to tell them, hey, it'll be all right. Like things will be fine. And having patience in that regard, because you're right, it does take time, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Some of the conversations I have with Kano and with him being GM and head coach, and things you have to deal with, on and off the field, and it's just there's a lot, and it's not just kicking soccer balls that you have to be concerned about. There's other stuff too. So seeing the whole picture and understanding those types of things, and that's been really cool for me to kind of experience and witness and grow.
So when you have conversations with mentees about patience and perspective, do they get it? Do they, or because we all know how we were when we were young. We were, slam it into fifth gear. Let's go. I want to be at the top of the mountain. I want to be the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, to paraphrase from Bret Hart. But it takes time sometimes for folks to get to where they want to be. But the impatience of youth sometimes gets in the way of our own successes. When you talk to mentees, do they have patience and perspective yet? Are you helping them in that process? Are they teaching you things when it comes to those two? What do patience and perspective mean to mentees?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It's difficult for younger players to see the bigger picture and to understand that there's a journey and things you have to go through in order to have success. And, some of those things are down periods and poor moments and adversity. But that's difficult, right? You don't want to lose games. You don't want to play poorly. That's never the goal. And it's tough in the moment to see how can you learn from that and what can you take from it and why it's important to go through these things. And I also think it's difficult for them to understand when I say that, like, off the field. And like, I was speaking to someone the other day who's going to like a regional camp-ish. And I was telling him that, you can't always control every touch you take, right? You're going to take some bad touches, but make sure that you do control the things you can, like your attitude, your work rate, look a coach in the eye, run when they call you in, right? Be a good teammate, communicate. And by communicate, I mean just, hey, good pass, hey, good try, this, that, right? Being positive, and how far that goes. I truly think that players underestimate those things and how important they are, and that they really can be the difference between making a team or making a school and not.
You mentioned looking someone in the eye, and I know that there are times where things like that are difficult because you don't, and I don't mean this to kind of creep people out, but there are times when it looks like you're looking at somebody in the eye and you might be staring a little too intently because you don't know how to do that because you haven't had the reps and the chance to do it when it comes to interpersonal communication. And that comes in a bunch of different forms, whether it's a firm handshake or the pat on the back, the communication, those kinds of things. And all of these little things when it comes to interpersonal communication can go a long way when it comes to those impressions, not just the first impression, but continuing impressions. So the folks in those positions of influence can be reminded, oh yeah, this person, they were great with the handshake. They're great they're great off the field, and I'm seeing them grow on the field. And so I think that that's key as well, is just understanding those values of communication and all those little things that can add up to a big thing that can cause some adult to go, yeah, I remember that person, over everyone else that doesn't respond in that way.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Because like I was just saying with Kano, dealing with things on and off the field, like the less a coach has to deal with off the field with a player, the better, right? I'd rather have a slightly less talented player who I know is going to have a good attitude, give her everything they have, and I don't have to worry about him or her and their parents off of the field, than a talented player who's going to be a pain in the butt. Right? It's common sense for us, I think, as older people, but it's difficult for kids to understand that. And I think they think just I need to be the most talented. I need to have the most skills and those types of things. And some of the other stuff goes forgotten. And trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
How do you turn an introvert into more of an extrovert in these situations? Because there are those that they just want to go out there, they want to do their job, but sometimes it might be a little bit more uncomfortable to interact with either an adult or other teammates. It's like, hey, I'm here for you, but I'm just quiet, and that's just how I am. How do you deal with those that are more introverted in this process and maybe get them out of their shell a little bit? Do you ever have those kind of interactions with your mentees?
Yeah, for sure. Because I was pretty quiet. For sure, growing up, and even as a younger pro, didn't view myself as a leader, wasn't super talkative or anything like that. So there's still ways that you can, perform well and act right and all those things. But I also think that, I use a couple examples, and even I found another one last night where I was watching the new Receivers show on Netflix. It's one of those Peyton Manning produced things that follows a few wide receivers from the NFL last year. And Justin Jefferson was one of them. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how everyone that knows him knows how quiet he is and really soft-spoken and doesn't like to be center of attention. But he says then when he puts on his chains and he puts in his gold teeth and stuff, mm-hmm. What do you call himself? He had another name for himself. I'm trying to think. Jets comes out, and that it's like his other personality. It's like now I'm the showman. Now I'm ready to go to work and have this other personality. And I talk about Joseph and Clint Dempsey, and they're really good examples of guys that are pretty chill and able to have a conversation with and hang out in the locker room. And then when they cross the line, it's a switch, and they are just the ultimate competitor and will do whatever it takes to have success. Even in training against your own teammates. And it's what made them great. And I wasn't quite like that. And I don't tell them that they have to be, but I do give these examples of, hey, you can have a different personality on the field versus off the field. And that's totally fine.
So then if you had a different personality on the field, like you cross the line and you have that different personality, what would you call it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Never thought about what my
when you put your cape on and the alter ego goes out there and is dialing up that 15 handicap and shooting a low 80.
Definitely wouldn't be Jets. No one ever called me that in my career.
Jets Parkhurst. He's out there shooting a 78.
That'll be the day. Someday.
Well, all right. So we'll put that one in. So give you something to think about. What your alter ego would be. So Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and we got to figure out what Michael Parkhurst is when he goes out there and who he was with that alter ego. I do want to talk about. Obviously, I do want to get your thoughts on Greg Berhalter before we get out of here, and since with your time with the national team. But what I also wanted to talk about is controlling emotions, and we saw it in the CONMEBOL match in Charlotte, where after the match of Uruguay and Colombia, which on the field, controlling your emotions in international competition, CONMEBOL, like stuff like that to me seems like it's something where you're right there on that knife edge the entire time. What's it like to be on that knife edge, knowing that you do something slightly off and you really could be hurting your team? Have you had those matches that you've been right there on the knife edge and in fifth gear for 90 minutes and you're like, man, that was crazy? Have you been on that knife edge before, emotionally trying to get something done on the field?
Yeah, there are certain teams, opponents, players that really try and get under your skin, right? And we see it a lot with Central America and South American teams and players, and they're very good at it. And they understand that. And this Copa America has been such a good example of the importance of controlling your emotions, right? In my opinion, the U.S. got knocked out because of Weah and his actions. Mm-hmm. Of course, other little things could have gone differently. But I do think that if we played that full game, 11v11, we've got an 80% chance of winning that game and moving on after 2 games.
Right.
So, yeah, that alone right there hurts you. And, I said it after it happened with Dest a couple months ago that, like, those things cannot happen. They just can't. I said it at that moment too. Like, that can be the difference between a World Cup when you're going through and you're not. And it just happened at Copa America. And so, yeah, it's crazy. And I'm not crushing Weah here. There's other examples too, right? There's other red cards that have been in this tournament that you're like, man, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Right? Even in the Uruguay Colombia game, right? The semifinal game, right? This Uruguay player, right? Just throwing an elbow. It's like, and
after getting pinched, he throws an elbow.
Yeah, and he's already on a yellow, which could have been a straight red. Like, it's unbelievable how we see it time and time again of just unable to control yourself. And, and every single time it just hurts your team, right? It just really, really hurts your team. Uruguay couldn't get over that, even though they fought hard. And so they're out. And, you're not just, you're being selfish to not only yourself, but the whole team. And so it's just crazy. And we talk about little moments of being able to control your emotions because you have to build that up, right? You can't just all of a sudden be in the most high intensity situation and be expected to be able to control yourself when somebody hits you, pinches you, whatever, right? It doesn't make it right. But we all know that the person that reacts second is more likely to be caught and than the first person, right? Even in MLS game the other day, Paul Arriola throwing the ball at the guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody saw that, but this guy was like right in front of Paul Arriola trying to take a throw in. So Paul just threw it right at his face, and the guy reacted with violence and got a straight red.
Yeah.
And so again, another one where I understand you're going to be upset and you're going to have emotions because we're all human beings, but being able to control that in the most tense moment to say, hey, this game's bigger than just me. Calm down. How can I calm down? How can I not go over the edge?
When it comes to discussing this with younger athletes, do they get it, or do they still want to sit there and get in that shot and it's like, oh yeah, we'll even it up and then I'll calm down? What are the conversations like these days with younger athletes?
Yeah, just saying that it makes you tougher being able to control yourself than it does to go up to somebody and elbow them or push them, right? Anybody can do that. And I think that they're afraid sometimes of not looking tough, not being tough, getting bullied out on the field. And so I need to show that I'm strong and can react and tough, and I'm not going to take this. And I understand that you can do that within the game, right? You can have some fouls. You can maybe even get a yellow card on a foul and stuff. But in the exact moment where everyone's looking at you is not the time to be tough, right? The tougher thing is to walk away, have a little smirk and say, hey, I'll remember, right? That is so much tougher to do than to just react. And so trying to get that through is, it's easy for them to understand and see it because we're in a nice calm environment. But everyone reacts differently when they're stressed.
And it gets to that point to where you sit there and you're taking notes. It's like, okay, I'm going to take a mental note here. I'll remember that. We'll have a comeback on that later. And that I think is, when it comes to development of younger players, it's that making sure that you can lock in, understand the context, and there'll be a moment later. I mean, like for hockey fans, I know that the Red Wings and the Avalanche, they hated each other. And there would be that moment where, okay, where does Claude Lemieux get his? And they waited 371 days before Darren McCarty made an example of Claude Lemieux. So there's a time and a place for it. It's not immediate because, as you say, it's usually that second person, not the person that's trying to do the get back immediately. That's the one that gets busted, and you end up doing things worse for your team. And I didn't know when I was asking if that's something that they got or if it's something that is still learned, or if the younger athlete knows that immediately. It's like, okay, I'll hang on to that one for later. I didn't know if they
I think it's a learned thing because you see it on TV, but it's another thing to be involved, right? When you're in a game, and I see the DePaul comments, and when they are so good, they're not only good soccer players, but they're so good at faking injuries, faking fouls, getting under your skin, right? Hitting you hard, these little things, time wasting. And that stuff just builds up in a game, right? Where you get so frustrated. Mm-hmm. And I understand it because I've been there and I've seen it and witnessed it. So I think you have to go through it. Another one of these things where you have to experience it in order to really get it and feel your blood boil. And what do you do in that moment?
I just have this vision of your alter ego and your blood boiling now. You come in there, it's almost like Tombstone. You wear the black cowboy hat, you come in, you got the big long coat, and you're ready to sit there and push the doors to the saloon open, and you're ready to start, taking names and things like that. I just have this vision of you doing that now. Now RIFC has to film that, and they have to have that as a part of their thing.
Hey, I'm not perfect either, John. I got a red card once for kicking a guy.
Once?
Yeah, I think my only red. I had two reds. One was a false identity red card.
And you're going, wait a minute, bro, that wasn't me.
This is before VAR. Oh, actually, I got three.
Okay.
A second one for a handball on the line, which was very questionable.
Oh, man.
I did not move my arms much. I might have gave it a little chicken wing.
Uh-huh.
But the other one was just got frustrated, mad. It was like second OT and overtime in an Open Cup game. We were down, and that was that.
What are we gonna do with you, man? Only 3 red cards in your career. What did you think about what happened after the match when things went completely and totally out of control?
Yeah, I've read some different things where I guess the Uruguay families were over there, and there was, and I get that because, families are a lot of times not in suites. They're just sitting in the stands. And, so if they thought that their families were getting harassed or anything, then I completely understand it. Right. That's a security issue that they're going to have to fix up before the World Cup. So, yeah, I don't think it was a case of like Ron Artest at the basketball game where it's
no malice at the palace kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's tough for me to judge because, if their families were indeed there and getting harassed, then and security wasn't handling it, then I get it.
Yeah. Before you go, because I know that we got you for another couple of minutes, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about the coaching change that happened with the men's national team. We have said here on the network a lot that we are team one cycle. That's it. We give me one cycle and we're good to go. So one cycle turned into two, and now Greg Berhalter is gone. When this finally happened, what went through your mind?
Yeah, well, it was now or never for sure. When they got knocked out and the outrage came from a lot of different groups and even writers and things, it was done. He was gone. For me, I was a little bit more because I think he's a very good coach. But I also do think that if there was I don't know how to say it, but if there was a different vibe or if there was a little bit of fear within the locker room or something different, I don't think the way a thing happens, because there's just no way after the Dest incident that you allow that to happen. And I know that you cannot control everyone out there, right? And I don't know what was said after the game when it happened to Dest or anything like that. I just know that can't happen once, never mind twice. And if it happens twice under the same coach, then something needs to be changed, because if it happens twice, then, it can happen a third and a fourth and a fifth, because now it's okay. And so that alone, right, even tactics aside and all that, it was like, yeah, we just need new blood in there, and you need to change it. And these guys have to be a little uncomfortable when they're in camp and performing for the national team. It's not just a comfort situation. And so I'm not surprised at the move. I do hope they go out there and really try and get someone top level. I know that there's been links to Chirundalo. And for me, I don't know if he's quite ready yet.
Yeah.
He's a young coach and he's done really well. And obviously he knows what it takes to have success with the national team, but yeah, I don't know. I hope that we at least go for a couple other options. But yeah, again, not surprised that it happened, and probably agree with it in the end.
All right, so cut the promo for me. What's going on right now with Beyond Goals and with what you and Greg are up to and with what you're up to?
Man, I've been cutting a ton of video lately because we had a lot of great feedback and success with the webinars that we did with different video clips and stuff. Right. So now we've got a different project lined up. So I'm cutting clips of MLS, NWSL, national team games, just so many different instances. And so that'll be a tool soon for players to use to grow their knowledge of the game. And it's a great way to learn and get better without having to run around and exert a lot of physical energy.
The webinar with Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza. Cap, as always, it's great to catch up with you, get your feedback on how things are going with dealing with mentees and what they're tackling and what adults tackle when they're being surrounded by younger adults as well. Get out of here, my friend, and we will catch up with you soon. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do.
Of course. Have a great weekend.
All right, Michael Parkhurst. He's gonna go shoot like a 74, and he's gonna let everybody know that no. I think I should still be a 15 handicap. I think that's how it should always be. 15 minutes to go for us, and it will be going through gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, how to watch it, all those kinds of things, whatever else is on your mind. I know that the news came out about the raising of the season ticket prices for Atlanta United, and we'll see where that goes with renewal rates and such. But saw that news come out this morning as well. Okay, so announcer assignments, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so national gossip, rumor, innuendo, international gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll get into that. Obviously, you've got some folks that are wandering around, changing from place to place. You've got all of the gossip and the tournaments and things like that that's going on. So gossip involving players, locations, all these kinds of things. Now, Friday gossip. Some of it involves Gareth Southgate. Apparently, the FA wants him to stay as England boss. They want him to stay as the boss of the Three Lions. That comes from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril, obviously. Even if they lose the Euro final against Spain on Sunday, apparently the FA wants Gareth Southgate to hang on and want him to stay. Even after it had been said that, no, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. No, Gareth's going to move on. All those kinds of things. Maybe not so much. And they also mentioned the BBC with the USA. The apparent pursuit of Jurgen Klopp, where Jurgen Klopp said thanks, but no thanks. Hervé Renard was mentioned as a part of the discussions yesterday. Apparently, Hervé Renard is going to ask for a break the bank kind of a figure when we're discussing him taking the job. He's also being courted in Saudi Arabia. So the question will come down for Hervé Renard is where do you want to go and what's your price? And as we all know, according to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, everybody's got a price. Would it fit? Would there be a price that the U.S. M&T and U.S. Soccer would give Hervé Renard to make sure that he could come over and be the new men's national team coach and not be courted by Saudi Arabia and continue to be courted by Saudi Arabia? You've got all of those discussions. Jurgen Klopp also wanted by his native Germany. And frankly, I think that's where he goes when all is said and done. When he's done with his sabbatical, I think that's where he ends up. That will be the last gig that he takes, will be the German national team. Al Ittihad is closing in on Aston Villa's 25-year-old French winger Moussa Diaby. They're also in talks over Casemiro, and apparently the transfer fee there is in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 million euro. That's from L'Equipe. Bayern Munich defender Matthijs de Ligt wants to join Manchester United immediately. Keep an eye out and keep an ear out for the 3D from Drew Dickinson as he breaks down the ins and outs of his beloved United. I'm sure Matthijs de Ligt will be a part of any future episodes. Bayern want 50 million euro for de Ligt, which translates out to about 42 million pounds. PSG have offered 70 million euro for Portugal international midfielder João Neves, compared to Manchester United's 60 million euro, but Benfica want a fee closer to the 120 million euro release clause. That comes from our friends at Abola in Portugal. I'm thinking that 120 million for a release clause and the 60 or 70 being offered right now, those aren't close numbers. So we'll see what happens. Arsenal's offer for Italian defender Riccardo Calafiori is 40 million euro plus another 10 in add-ons, but Bologna want 50 as a starting point, plus a percentage of any future sale as negotiations continue. That comes from Sky Sports Italia. So Arsenal is looking for 40 plus 10. Bologna is saying 50 plus a percentage of the pass. So that's what you're staring at there. Crystal Palace determined not to sell Eze to Spurs or to Manchester United. Nice interested in Luton Town's 22-year-old defender Ted Mengi. That's from Foot Mercato. Also, Arsenal have submitted an opening bid for Ajax's 18-year-old English goalkeeper Tommy Setford. That comes from Fabrizio Romano. Benfica have turned down offers by PSG and Manchester United for João Neves. So we'll see what happens there. AC Milan interested in RB Salzburg's 23-year-old defender Strahinja Pavlovic, but is also wanted by Newcastle. West Ham have apparently fended off, that's the words that are being used, fended off interest from Manchester City and are going to keep 16-year-old midfielder Chinaza Nwosu at their academy. Chelsea have ended their pursuit of Atletico Madrid's 20-year-old Spanish striker Samu Amorodion. And so you have that is your early gossip. Also, very, very cool thing from Major League Soccer Communications. MLS and Special Olympics today announced that the rosters for the 9th annual Unified Sports All-Star Game at historic Crew Stadium, that is now out. And I know we're going to kind of be bouncing around here for the final 10 minutes. It's the 9th annual Unified All-Star Game. That's going to be played at lower.com on Wednesday. Initially, I thought this was supposed to be at historic Crew Stadium. But yeah, okay. So it is at Crew Stadium. It is at historic Crew Stadium. Tuesday, 3:30 in the afternoon at historic Crew Stadium in Columbus. And if you're going to the All-Star Game, I will go ahead and say this right now. If you're going to the All-Star Game, go a day early and go see the Unifieds because of what Atlanta United has done over time, and has and thanks to our friends from Gallagher as well. Atlanta United and Gallagher have really had the Unified team at the forefront of the discussions when it comes to the entire Atlanta United experience. And it's been fun for me and Madison and Jason and Joe to be able to call those matches and show how these athletes are really growing in confidence and seeing all of the different events that they go to and things like that. When I went to Red Bull Arena last year and was able to call the match with Jason, and we were up there in Harrison, New Jersey, and the road trips that they take. The road trip coming up where they're going to Los Angeles and going to have a unified match out there, going to have all these unique experiences and things. Very, very cool stuff. And MLS greats are going to serve as celebrity coaches, teams comprised of individuals outfitted in the authentic uniforms provided by Adidas. And so you end up with all of the activity that's there. And so, I'd like to be able to click on a roster, but where is it? Where are the rosters? It's like they said we announced the rosters, and then I don't see the rosters. So, as a part of the All-Star experience, MLS and Special Olympics hosting 52 unified team members representing 26 clubs for the 11v11 match, and that's at 3:30 on Tuesday afternoon. Individuals with intellectual disabilities, Special Olympics athletes, and without intellectual disabilities, the unified partners, they're all going to be outfitted. So very, very cool stuff there, and looking forward to the unified match as a part of the entire weekend, the entire week. It's not a weekend; it's the entire midweek that's brought to us by our friends at Major League Soccer. Joshua Zirkzee at Manchester United for the medical and a 36 million pound deal, and so keep an eye on that when it comes to Joshua Zirkzee and what's going on with him. We mentioned announcer assignments for the weekend, and so for those, it's all of this is on the free side of Apple TV. Callum and Kalen are going to be in Montreal calling Atlanta United and CF Montreal once again. Remember, try to sync up 92.9 The Game, because Apple has yet to figure out how to do away broadcasts this season. Hopefully it's something that they will be adding to future seasons. So sync up 92.9 with what you're watching on Apple TV. Other 7:30s, Neil Sika, Lloyd Sam, Nashville at DC. Kanji and Danny are doing FC Cincinnati and Charlotte. Chris Whittingham, Lori Lindsay are doing the Revs and the Purple Team. Eric Krakauer, Jalil Anibaba are doing Toronto and Philadelphia. 8:30s, Max and Dunny are in Austin for Seattle and Austin FC. Nate Bacady, Brian McBride, they are in Chicago for Chicago and NYC. 10:30, Mark Followell and Warren Barton. That is FC Dallas and LAG. Tony Husband, Ross Smith. That one is Houston and Minnesota. Tyler Terrens and Kendra D. St. Aubin, they're down in St. Louis for All Caps and Washington and Vancouver. Christian Miles and Shep Messing are in Colorado for Colorado and Red Bulls. Jake Ziv, Devin Kerr are in Portland, so Jake gets a bit of an old home game for Portland and RSL. Keith Costigan and Mo Adu are LA and Columbus Crew, and Rogo and Heath Pierce are doing San Jose and Sporting Kansas City. So those are your announcer matchups for what is going on this weekend. Everything's on the free side of Apple TV. So keep an eye on all of that, and you get to see what's going on with the free side of Apple TV. I'm trying to find out if you have the announcement of the actual members of the unified teams that have been possibly produced. So hang on just a second. I want to see if I can find that information here in the next 5 minutes, because when Major League Soccer says, yes, we got the rosters named, it's like announces the roster and they don't post the roster. I'm trying to figure out if Atlanta United is posting something separately about who is going to be representing them in the All-Star game in and of itself. So this is I'm going to apologize ahead of time that hopefully you can just put up with me here for another couple of minutes, and hopefully we can see what's going on with the unified. Maybe if I did a search engine or something like that. Let's see if we can do, let's see, unified. If I could spell unified, MLS All-Star game, Columbus. All right, let's see if we can get that, and that would help out. So let's see if we can find out who was actually named. Rolls into it. Columbus Crew is hosting. Yes, we know Columbus Crew is hosting the All-Star game. Week fan events, Historic Crew Stadium, Eventbrite logos are there. I'll find it. I'll find it in there somewhere. I mean, so it exists in here somewhere, and when we come up with the names, then we'll get it all squared away. So, but no, it's very, very cool that Special Olympics Unified Sports All-Star Game Tuesday at Historic Crew Stadium. So keep an eye on all of that. Once again, programming reminders as we go here today. We've got a lot of stuff that's going to be posted to the network, and you end up with you're going to have episode 90 of the Soccer for US POD. That's going to be coming out with Bart and Thomas, and they're going to be discussing everything going on with Berhalter. They had an episode taped, and then of course Greg Berhalter is dismissed, and then they've got to retape it. And so what I told Bart to do, I said, go ahead and release them both, and just go ahead and say, okay, this is what we were originally going to say, and this is what we ended up saying. So kind of do it as like a special a special episode that's like a hidden episode. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's a new episode of the Soccer for US POD. That's coming out today. Also, coming up this morning, it is our programming on USL Championship, USL League One. We'll have all of that that's coming up later today. 4 more leagues are going to have episodes coming out later today. It'll be the USLW show, where we'll rerun the interview with Logan Fisher, the interview with Willie Davis, the right-hand side of the bracket. We'll have highlights of Detroit City's win, and we'll get you ready for the Final Four in USLW. And we'll also catch you up with USL League 2 and let you know what's going on there. NPSL, remember we caught up with Carlos Rubio and Dale Parker. They're going to be playing at Ted Mackerel in Boone this weekend for the championship in the NPSL Southeast Conference. And the winner there goes on to the national platform to chase after a title in the NPSL, but they've got to get through each other first. And we'll have those interviews posted for our NPSL show. We caught up with Diane Smith for Bristol. We'll have that posted, as well as our interview that we had with Johnny Mercado earlier in the week. Also, we'll have, like I said, we mentioned what's going on with the WPSL. The WPSL is in their regional final state, and it is quickly, let me get into the WPSL here. Charlotte Football Era Select in Austin, Texas. Regional semifinals are in Spokane, Austin, Islip, New York, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We'll get you through those matchups on the WPSL weekly. And we'll have a great story out of Sioux Falls about sisters at Sioux Falls City FC. and we'll let you know what's going on there. So that is a show. Yeah, and so listen to episode 90 of the Soccer for US POD. That'll be posted later today. I'll be back at it once again. If you're at Lee and White or can make Lee and White on Sunday for the big events that are going on there, please do. It'll be great, and it'll be great to see everybody this weekend. Columbus Crew 2, Atlanta United 2, that is going to be on the network on Sunday. We'll have that from the Fraction. So maybe you can be in two places at once, or at least you can listen to us and be at Lee and White, or maybe listen to Lee and White and then you can be at the Fraction. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on this weekend. Atlanta United's in Montreal. The 2's hosting Crew 2, and we'll have it all for you here on the network, and we'll talk about it all again on Monday morning. We're out because they're kicking us out of the house. And so, once again, thanks to everybody who joined this morning. Thanks to all of you guys on the Twitch pitch for dropping by. Thanks to Niko Moreno, who talked to us after he landed after his plane landed. Not he didn't land his plane, but the plane he was on landed. Caught up with him about Copa America, a little bit of Major League Soccer. Thanks to Logan Fisher, the head coach at Tennessee SC, as they get ready for North Carolina Courage. And thanks to Michael Parkhurst and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, because it's always cool to catch up with them. Always cool to catch up with all of you. That's a show. We'll be back at it again once again all weekend long. Set your notifications for all the programming that we have, all the live stuff, all the appearances for the SDH Network. We're going to be all over the place. It's a summer of soccer, and it's officially summer, and it's officially soccer. So it's the summer of soccer, and we're part of it. So that's 10:01. I'm out. Play it safe, everybody. I'm going to find the closing billboard, and I'm going to whistle us to a close. Be safe, and we will catch up with you again over the weekend.